desktop. So
You just see, yeah, just the wallpaper there.
yep.
Okay. I'm going to get some music going here. But you don't hear the music, do you?
No,
Okay, that's fine.
you'll have to sing it.
All right. With
This is
that,
our live karaoke session.
it's live. We are live. So with that, oh, it's
Cassidy
laggy again
sings.
for me. As soon as I hit start streaming, it's laggy. That's cool. Okay, now we know. Hi everybody. Welcome to the super informal live stream from the Endless OS Foundation. We are going to be working on some more game development stuff on Windows using GitHub and Git and Godot today. And I'm joined by Justin here from the Endless Foundation. Endless OS Foundation. We're like behind the scenes. We're like in the process of a rename. So like if you hear somebody say Endless Foundation instead of Endless OS Foundation, just it's the same thing. Don't worry about it. Cool. So yeah, today I guess last week we did a really long stream, longer than we intended, but we did like setting up Git and creating a GitHub account and even like installing Godot and like just poking at some of that stuff and some really basic stuff in Git. Today we have a little agenda, right?
Yeah.
So
is that smooth for someone watching, or is it laggy too? Or is that
as
just
far
my
as
view?
it's possible it's both. It should be smooth. We'll see.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. This is why we're doing these informally, right? But yeah, so today we're gonna tackle actually how you would actually get a game from GitHub to look at how it works, mod it, maybe play with it, and then how you can actually save changes that you would want to make to a game back to GitHub for other people to see and just to store it for yourself as well. And then lastly, we're gonna try to tackle how to set up new branches on a GitHub project or a Git repository, and we'll talk about why you'd want to do that in a little bit too. But any other kind of preface stuff that you want to mention?
No, just that if you're seeing the word branches, I know we talked about them a little bit last time.
Mm-hmm.
We will demystify and explain that word as well. And in the process of like setting up new ones, yeah, we'll just maybe you and I can also just talk about what that means exactly.
Yeah, sure. Let
Nice.
me turn off the lights that are behind the screen behind me, just so it's less bright behind me, because my face is really dim. Okay. I don't know if that helped at all. No, it's because the window's over there. It's fine. All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and just get started. I am again sharing from a Windows computer here, and let me see. Switch over to the right thing here.
So do you want me to link you to a game?
Sure, yeah. So we should have everything all set up here. I'm going to put this other keyboard and mouse away from me because I don't want to hit the wrong things. But yeah, I should be here on the Windows computer. Yep.
Okay, sharing a game to you, and then we'll chat here.
Oh, how am I going to get that link on here? That's fine. I'll browse to it on the browser. That's fine.
Okay.
I was like, I don't have that chat on my Windows share. That's fine.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So what do we got here? Which game we're gonna look at?
Let's go with Candy Wrapper.
Candy Wrapper. Okay. So yeah, there is this game called Candy Wrapper. We're gonna go to github.com, and the URL for it is harmonyhoney/Candy Wrapper. So I don't know how much of this we covered in the past, but it's always like I feel like helps to go over it again. If you're wondering how URLs work here, it helps if you don't mangle it. GitHub URLs, it's always the developer's name is the first part of the URL, or if it's developed by like an organization, like a company or something, then that's considered the developer's name, but it's the developer's name first, and then it's their repository name here. It comes after it. So that's, it shows up here at the top too at GitHub. It's harmonyhoney/Candy Wrapper. Kind of gives that consistent format. And I accidentally clicked on the developer. This is the developer. They have other stuff too. But yeah, we're looking at a game called Candy Wrapper. So it's here are the files and everything, and we want to actually get this and get it down on our computer. So
yeah, and just to can you talk a little bit about the way in which we're going to try to get this today? It's going to like have us taking advantage of Git
Hmm.
Now we're setting aside the team thing for now, right? We're talking about
Yeah.
just like one person going to get a game and then using Git to allow them to like make changes and save the game like you flashed up on the screen. But
Yeah.
like so we can do all that by just downloading the zip file. So what are we going to do different than just downloading the game, exactly?
Right. Yeah, I think we even showed that last week of like you can go here and just hit download zip and you get the code. And you get the code, but you don't get
Right.
any of the history. You don't get the Git part of it. So you don't get the commit history and you can't easily add on to what's already there. So yeah, we're going to actually do what's called cloning the repository. So again, the repository is the place that the code is stored. It's all these files are in the repository. This URL is pointing to the repository. And then cloning it means like you're getting yourself a copy of it. So there's two
Okay,
ways
but
we
wait.
can. Yeah, okay. I think you're gonna mention
I'm
this maybe.
I'm scared. No, I would be nervous. So I'm glad you're saying two ways because I would be nervous. The first time I did this, I cloned a game. And the idea was that you guys had explained to me is like, okay, so now you're connected to that game. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be
You don't want
connected
them
to
to have.
someone's
Yeah,
professional
I see.
game. So can you talk about like what we're gonna
Yeah. So yeah, when you clone a project, you can clone this repository. This instance of the code, and you see all of the history, the commit history. We talked about last week going through how you committing it is like you're committing it to memory, to the history of the project. So when you clone something, you see the commit history, you see all the different commits, you see all the changes made over time. If you have permissions to like if it's your repository or like you've been added to that repository through GitHub or some other way, like if you have permissions for that repository, you can push your changes directly back to that same repository. Most of the time, that's not the case, or at least in this example we're showing here, like we're not the developers of this game, so we don't have permission to go just like push code to this game, and that would be bad if you could do that, right? In fact,
sounds messy.
when I tell
Sounds like
people
it'd be
about
messy.
open source, like some people like think they're like it's like, oh yeah, open source, anybody can see the code, anybody can modify it and change it, and people are like, how do you keep things secure? It's like, well, nobody can like not everyone can go modify the original source code. It means you have the permission to take it and modify it and redistribute it on your own. So to do that, you do something called a fork. So a fork is think about a fork in the road, right? It's like you have one road and then you fork off into the other direction. When you fork a GitHub project or any Git repository, you're saying, I want to take all of that existing history, all those existing commits, but I'm going to put it in a new place. That's useful because then you have your own place to play with it. You have your own like playground, and it is later on, you can then request that the original developers merge in any of your changes.
Okay, so that last part is interesting, right? Because like you fork it, and in my mind, if I read that fast, I'm like, okay, I grabbed it and I took it in a new direction, so I'm making my own kind of copy of
Mm-hmm.
it. And so now I feel safe that I'm not going to accidentally, if I didn't
Yeah,
understand that first part, that your explanation, I now know that I won't accidentally change this person's actual project. But
right.
like you said at the end there, that doesn't completely remove your ability to maybe one day actually suggest a contribution, like something in your version, your forked version
Exactly. Yeah.
could eventually be brought in, right?
Yeah, exactly. You have your fork, and if you want to just completely go your own thing, it's best practice. I'm not going to get into like all licensing and legal stuff, but like it's best practice if you're actually forking somebody else's thing and want to take it in a whole new direction. You probably want to rename it just to make people aren't going to be confused
Okay.
by it.
Yeah.
But like if your intent is not to like take it in a new direction and make a new competing or different project, like you actually want to, your end result is like play around a bit and then maybe merge it back in. You don't have to rename it. Like it's still the same project. It's just a fork of it.
So this is nice. This is a really flexible way to safely get your own copy, but also have the flexibility of maybe one day recontributing to the. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you like, it's a great learning experience too. I feel like we're talking. I'm going to start actually doing this while we keep talking about this, maybe.
Yeah, go for it. Let's do it.
But yeah, it's a good learning experience because you get all of that source code and you get all of the commits, so you can actually see the steps that person took to get there in your own copy that you forked off. So yeah, we're gonna fork the easiest way. So there's multiple ways, and this is what's kind of the positives and negatives of Git is that it's super powerful, and so there's a million ways to do things. You could like clone this here using these instructions, and then you could do a whole bunch of command line stuff to like push it to your own repository from like the command line. The easiest way, honestly,
I did by accident, by the way.
which you can do. Like again, there are people who, if you're really familiar with Git or you have specific reasons to want or need to do that, you can. If we're focusing on like, here's a thing on GitHub and I want my own copy, you can just do. I am signed into my alternate identity here. Because I already have a fork of this on my personal project. So, but yeah, there's this button here that says fork. So, the code is how you would get the code itself. But if you actually want to start like forking it into your own copy, they even say there in the tooltip, fork your own copy, you can hit fork.
Perfect.
And so this is going to prompt you to create a new fork, and this is creating it on your own account. And yeah, it says here, allows you to freely experiment with changes without affecting the original project. But again, I think the important part of that is to know you could eventually, you could request that the original project merges something in from your changes. So we're going to say I've got Cassidy Endless here. I'm going to keep the default repository name. You could rename it to something if you have a preference for calling it something different. And that's just the name of the repo. There's this copy master branch only. Generally, that's okay. If you know that there's other branches that you're going to want to poke at, I am going to uncheck it just because that way we can switch around and see if there's other branches. I don't know if there are. But,
okay. I think I just saw one, but maybe, I get your point.
It's like generally the master branch, this will be whatever the developer's default branch is. This could say main, this could say stable, it could say release. It's whatever their main branch they've set is, or their default branch. If you know you're going to like fork off of just that main branch, then you can just leave this checked. I'm going to uncheck it though. I like unchecking it because it makes things a little bit more flexible down the road. If you're like, oh, they did that in a different branch, and you can kind of work with that. So this is pretty quick.
So now you'll notice all we did was fork it over to your account still online, still on GitHub.
Yeah, so I'm still on GitHub. I still don't have the code at all. But now I have Cassidy Endless /Candy Wrapper. And it even says, it keeps the history here. It says forked from the upstream one. You can always click there to go back.
Oh, but you can see, but I can right on the screen, I can see work from months ago. The commits on the, So so this, it actually it keeps all of the original history. So that's the nice thing. That's like, you retain all of that history. Even if you did fork it into a new direction and renamed it and changed all the assets and made a whole new game based on this game, you can still go back in time and see like what decisions led to where you are now and what changes led to that. So well, that would be helpful to see, just out of curiosity, as like a fan of this, is just to see the kinds of bundles of work, commits, saves, the kinds of ways they organize their commits. And how different people do it, I guess, because I'm sure people do it very differently.
That's definitely something I found is like, I'm going to hide your face here just for a second so I can see more of the files. But yeah, it's always fun to see, like, these are, especially if a game started as like a personal project or like not an open source project, and then they open sourced it, which I think is the case with this. I don't know that this game started as open source, but then they open sourced it later on. So you're getting a peek into their workspace, right? Like these are the way they set up their files, and it may be best practices, it may not be, but that's what you got, and that's what you got to work with. And that's actually a big part of like working with open source or other developers. If you are intending to like make your changes back to their project, you kind of have to like adopt some of their conventions, even if it's not what you would do. Like, let's say I prefer to have all my folders all lowercase, for example. But like if I was contributing something to this project, I probably should name that folder, first uppercase letter. Like I should pick up the conventions that this project has established already. And that's actually one of the most difficult things I feel like in like open source or just working with other people is like sometimes you have a way you want to do a thing and sometimes somebody else has a way they want to do a thing. And like the important part is to like agree on a convention, whether you think it's like the perfect way. It's more important to be consistent within your project.
Okay, cool. So how do we now bring it down to our computer?
So yeah, now that we are on, our forked copy of it, we can go ahead and just go here to fork, to code, and we can grab the URL here. I'm curious if
So
it's
we're
going to prompt
copying
me
that.
for the
Okay.
password. It's probably going to prompt me for the password, which I don't remember how I have that. Let me switch scenes here so I don't reveal my password, right? I'm going to make sure I have my GitHub password. So, because it was randomly generated last week, and then I don't remember what it was. Let's see. GitHub. Got a password manager to keep track of that stuff for me. Oh, why is it not in my password manager? Oh, no. That's fine. I have it somewhere else, hopefully. Did Firefox save it in Firefox passwords? That's probably where it went. Let's see.
In terms of that convention stuff, I mean, that was the first thing that I kind of had learned from you guys was when I tried to make a change to the moddable platformer,
Mm.
and you had pointed out like, well, why don't you name things this way? And I'm like, who cares? Like here's the
Mm-hmm.
change. It works. But you think about that for a few seconds, and you imagine huge groups of people
Yeah.
all trying to make changes, and everyone just kind of deciding that they think this is how it looks, how it should look, and it looks better this way would
Yeah.
be horrible to navigate if you're like the 10th person to grab the project and you look through all these different visuals of the folders. It'd be a mess. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
It's like, and it totally depends on the size of the project. Like I said, like if you have a huge project, you're probably going to have a lot more established conventions. If it's just like you and your friend or whatever, like, whatever. But,
Not as big of a deal. Yeah.
as you do more, you want to like establish those conventions. Also, if you are working with other people in Git, it's best to not like, this is just a pretty broad general thing, but like it's probably best to not just like rename or move things around unnecessarily, because again, all of that history is in the Git, the Git commit history. So like if you just like randomly move some files around here and then in another commit you move them back over there, like that's going to make it hard for people to follow that history. And it's also going to make it like harder if they did fork off and make a change and then they want to merge it, but now you've moved that file. Like that's where you get into a mess. So like,
Yep.
it is best to think about these conventions a little bit ahead of time to be like, this is where I'm going to put these things, and I'm not going to change that unless I have a really good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see.
And by the way, what you just said is going to make it more interesting later when we talk about branches. Like if you really have the urge to move things or smash things or change things, you can do that with Git and still not affect or try to bring those chaotic changes to the big group. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. So we're going to pull this down. So what I did is I have my password copied. Oops, I keep hitting the wrong thing here. I'm going to go into my documents folders because that's where we were doing stuff last week. And I'm going to create, or I'm going to open the Git bash here. So.
Okay. And again, why are you opening it? Why are you navigating first to the folders before opening this? Can we recap that quickly?
Yeah. It's just so I don't have to type as many commands. If I go here and then I open it, then it's going to start out and it's going to show me here. It has like a little tilde / documents. So that means it's in my users folder under documents. My Windows user folder documents. If I just opened the Git, which I can do here, Git bash. If I just open Git bash, it just starts in tilde, which is just my user folder. So then I have to know command line stuff to say cd space documents. And
you have to know where it is and type the path.
And then I'm in the same folder. So you can do like, if you're familiar with the command line, Unix or Linux command line or bash, like it's perfectly fine just to open up the terminal or open up the Git bash and then cd into the right directory. But yeah, I was trying to show that like, if you open up the Git bash here, it's going to be a little bit just, you don't have to navigate around the project as much.
Cool.
All right. So we're in that documents folder. And now is the fun part. We get to say git clone. So again, we're going to clone. And this is where I copied my password, but then I didn't. I have to copy something else first, so I'll have to copy it again. So it's fine. This is only stuff because we're live streaming. I don't want to share passwords, but
we're just copying the URL there that they tell us to copy if we want to clone.
Yeah, when you click code, they say clone, and there's HTTPS, SSH, GitHub CLI. I'm not going to go into the SSH and GitHub CLI stuff right now.
Okay.
We can just use the default one, the HTTPS. This one's going to ask you for your password. Like if you've set up SSH and you know what that means or whatever, then you'll know you can use the SSH one. If you've set up the GitHub CLI, which we can maybe cover some other time. But yeah, we're just going to start with the HTTPS here, which is fine.
All right.
Something we didn't do last
grab
week, which
that
we
link.
probably should still do, is we should probably look at GitHub Desktop at some point. But maybe that's a whole separate video, just to once we've covered basics. So okay, we've copied the URL here. You can also just copy it and, you know, click in here and copy it, whatever. Either way. Then I'm going back here and I'm going to paste. Now here's the thing: if I hit Control V, nothing happens.
I noticed this.
If I start typing or backspacing, things get weird. So you either have to, I actually don't know how it is on Windows exactly, but you either have to right click to paste.
Yeah.
Or they say you can do
what
Shift Insert, or sometimes, let me see if it works here. Control Shift V. No, that's probably a Windowsy thing. So yeah, right click and paste. It's annoying. It's a weird thing because Control and then a letter does other things in terminals. So like they can't use the same shortcuts. But you can right click and paste. So yeah, if you're ever wondering. Yeah. And then when I do this, it should clone. Oh, see, it did weird stuff that I can't even see in there because I hit Control V. So if you're ever wondering, like when you hit Control V, it does like weird stuff with like invisible characters, and like somehow it copied this E even though it didn't look like it did. Yeah. So git clone. So it's actually gonna clone.
There we go.
And apparently I'm already set up with GitHub, maybe. Or I haven't tried to push
it doesn't
yet.
ask me for a password there.
I haven't tried to push anything yet. Yeah, so because it's an
Okay.
open repository, the repository is available for anybody. It's public. I don't have to have told Git, like associated Git with my GitHub user account yet. You know, we've associated it with my name and my email. But yeah, we just cloned the game. We pulled it down. And now you'll notice we're still in this documents folder. So if I go over actually in the Explorer, you'll see there's a new folder here, Candy Wrapper. And in my terminal, I'm still in the documents folder. And this is where the CD thing. So CD means change directory. That's the way you can remember it. Change directory. Directory means the same thing as folder. CD, and then you can CD into that Candy Wrapper. And then this is again where I would say tab complete. When hitting the tab key on your keyboard is your friend. Because if you just type the first few letters and then hit tab, it'll fill in the rest for you. It's going to save you a lot of typing. And then hit enter. And now you'll see that I am in Documents and Candy Wrapper. And it even
Do you know what I do?
It's Git.
Because I didn't know the tab complete.
Yeah.
I just X out. And now this new folder, Candy Wrapper, I right click that folder
and say open it and get bash
there.
Yeah,
because I didn't know that.
Exactly. Yeah. That works too. You can close that and you can right click here and say.
This is probably since my early days as a kid gaming on a computer where you had to go into DOS to set the game up. This was the first time that command CD git clone was probably the first thing I had done since I was a kid.
Yeah.
In this scary looking command.
It from the
it's just so weird that
drive or whatever.
we have to like hand type instructions to it. This is very new again. What's old is new.
And it's again it's because it's this thing that's been created by Git is a thing that's been created by developers for it's really powerful. You can really do a ton with it. There are other ways to access, like GitHub Desktop. Again, I'll mention that again.
We will have to
GitHub
show that,
Desktop. Basically, all of these commands are buttons in the GitHub Desktop app. But I also think it is important to understand these commands because, like when you were learning, when William was helping you learn stuff. You at first were like, this is crazy. This is using the terminal and stuff. This is wild. And then as you got used to it, it's like, it is just faster.
Yeah, and I just kept a cheat sheet nearby. It doesn't. They're little commands. It's not like you have to type for an hour to get it to do anything. It's just words I wasn't used to.
Yeah,
but they're not. It's not a long set of commands. Yeah. Right. So like you just typed git clone and pasted a link in, and now we have the game on the computer. So
right, exactly. And we've got it right here. And well, let's jump into that game and poke at it. Yeah. So I'm gonna just close the git bash for now. And I'm going to open, I think I might be able to open, well, no. I'm going to just do it the way I would normally do it, of open Godot, which I also have it in
and then just
pinned on the thing.
And then
here.
just import it.
And then, I'm going to import that game. So all I'm doing is I'm just telling Godot where that folder is, which it even shows. By default, it loads the documents folder. So that's why it's nice if you don't have a reason not to use the documents folder. It's nice just to use it.
Okay.
So it'll show it. It'll be faster. But you could go browse through Windows, whatever, if you wanted.
And then when you're in that folder, you just brought the whole thing in. Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So having imported that now, one nice thing is in the last session when we talked about this, you had Git as a software, a version control system on your computer, but it wasn't really linked to us playing around in Godot. But this time, because we grabbed the game from online
Hmm.
and we cloned it, you don't have to add the base game yet this time, do you?
Right. Yeah, because we did the clone. That means like it already was a Git project. It already has a history. In fact, if we open up again the Git bash, um, even though we've made no changes, we've done nothing here. You can still type that Git log to see the log of
Yeah,
changes, and you'll
like the
see
history.
the other
Yeah,
developers, history
there's
of
all
what
the
they've done.
commits. Those are all the
Um,
saves.
yeah, and so like they've done a whole bunch of stuff, which is kind of cool. If you ever get in
And
this and you don't know how
in
to get out of here with this little colon thing, if you just hit Q, it'll close it.
that messed me up so bad because you okay, so I learned git log because I wanted to see what I
Mm-hmm.
had been saving, or like this, I wanted to see what other people had done.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started typing and nothing happened. And I'm like, wait a
Yeah,
minute, nothing has changed. What have I done?
and I don't remember if
So
this is the same. I think this is different than the Vim thing that you also ran into. This is slightly different,
what
but it is when you do git log, you get like you can use the arrows. You might even be able to use the scroll bar. Oh yeah, well a little bit. You can use the arrows
but
that
to
like
get
keep
out
going
of
back.
there, you
To get
type
out,
Q for
you hit
quit.
Q for quit, or I think you can also
And it
hit Control C. No, see that's one of those weird things where like now I'm in a weird state. There we go. But yeah, you
just
hit
Q.
Q
Okay,
Q Q to quit out of there. It's when
cool.
you have that little colon thing. I think technically maybe if you got all the way to the end, maybe you would let you out. I don't know, but yeah, Q to quit is good. All right. So yeah, we have that log there, and we have the game opened up here in
And
Godot.
it's not just downloaded files, it's connected to Git. So Git is watching and kind of tracking
Mm-hmm.
or can track what
Yeah,
we do in here, right?
yeah. I love this name, Goobers. That's so good. Um.
Do you want to get rid of my face so they can see the file? Like,
Oh yeah, sure, sure.
because I'm in the way there of the
Yeah, of
yeah.
these files. So yeah, okay. So I guess we'll do a little bit intro of Godot's user interface. We're not going to go super in depth here, but this is just kind of to show my face here, I guess, because I'm not covering anything. Just to show you some really, really, really basics of the default way that Godot Engine's like editor is set up. So first of all, yeah, this is called the editor. You in the middle here, you have your scene. Um, there are these tabs on the top, which are kind of confusing because there's tabs here, and then there's also tabs here, and then there's also different panels. But generally, you're going to want to stay on this 2D tab if you're doing a 2D game. You can also switch to the script tab if you actually are writing code. We're not going to look at that right now, but like these change what is showing in the big middle like canvas area. And then these tabs are like you can actually open different files or have different files open, but within those files you can say I want to view the script or I want to view the 2D canvas. So it's a little confusing, but like kind of get used to it eventually. You kind of don't switch between these up here at the top very much. But if you
Yeah.
get lost,
And
make sure you're selected where you're expected to be there.
yeah, that can throw you off. And the other thing is like where to even begin to look at the game. I
Yeah.
mean, the top left, that area called the scene tree
Yeah.
that
So this
you
is
got something highlighted.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
this is your
all the
scene
building
tree,
blocks. Yeah.
and this is going to be each of these things is called a node, and it's in each of these is in the scene tree. So these are the things that build the game. The problem is sometimes you'll have things that aren't like obvious right here, like where's my actual character. So if you look down
Right. Or not
here,
all things are visible. Yeah.
there's this file system. This is if you look at like if I open up the the project in just the file explorer, like this is the same thing, right? These are the actual files. It starts with this
Yep.
res : / That's kind of confusing. That's just like resource. That's just saying like that's the root. That's the home of your
Main.
project.
Okay.
Everything inside of that res : / is the projects. So you can see their equivalent here, right? You have audio, font, image, scene, script, tile map, same folders here. You can expand those folders out and you have all the different files inside there. But yeah, it can be confusing, especially the very first time you open a project, because it's like, where do I even start? How did this developer set up their project? So I'd say you familiarize yourself a bit with the files themselves, because that will probably give you a better idea of where things are stored.
Yeah.
Justin, you were just poking at this game a few minutes ago. Where would
Yeah.
you poke around to start in this game?
Well, the first thing, like with some basic games that we've looked at, like the moddable platformer that we showed in the last session, when you looked in the top left, you saw almost all nodes like kind of involved in the demo game. In this case, some of that stuff is a little hidden in that scene tree
Mm-hmm.
because I suspect things get loaded when they need to be loaded and they're not really right there at the very beginning state of the game.
Yeah.
So that probably is more common. And because there's like splash screens or introductory screens, and they don't necessarily include like the demo game, there's no splash. It's just like the game sitting there as
Mm-hmm.
a big main scene. So this looks probably more familiar. If you started to grab games off GitHub, I wonder if they would probably look more like this. So what I started to do instead was, because I know that um, people usually make levels to their game as what are called scene files. And scenes in Godot are, Cassidy, you talked about like nodes. Nodes
Mm-hmm.
are the tiniest building blocks that you use in Godot for a game, and then you put them together to do different things. Like you could put a bunch of nodes together to be a player character, you could put a bunch of nodes together to be a tree or a whole level. And when you're done collecting them and bundling them to be a component, they often get saved as what's called a scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a template that you can use. So I looked for levels. I wondered if this developer like made each independent level of the game a scene.
Yeah.
So in
So
the file system down there in the bottom left, I you see where it says filter files?
yeah.
I type in the ending to a scene file .tscn because
Yeah.
I don't want to accidentally grab just pictures and things. I want to see like
You
full,
just want to filter it down.
like,
That's really clever.
yeah.
That's like that makes a lot of sense. I've seen that filter and I've never actually used it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna use it all the time now.
Yeah,
Like
because
that
yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
now we get like, could you double click the player?
Yeah. So if we go to player, yeah, you double click to select it, and you'll see that the
Yeah, he's
node
tiny.
tree or the scene tree up here updated to
Yeah, now
reflect
it's just the player.
what we're loaded on. So and the tab up here, we opened, like when we double clicked it, it opened a new tab to the player, which then showed the scene tree. It shows what's in there. If we switch back to game, you'll see that you have the different scene tree from the game, the default like game scene.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, that trips me out. Like it gets a little confusing how I feel like there's a few layers here of like when you open a thing and it opens a tab, but it's something that you'll get used to. But yeah, so now on the player, if we if we know that we
He's
can zoom
way
in,
in there. Yeah,
it's
there
because
he is. Okay.
it's literally pixel art here. Oh, and I'm on a trackpad, which if that's one of the things I would recommend. If you are doing Godot and you have a physical mouse, I highly recommend a physical mouse because you
Oh,
can use like
definitely.
your scroll wheel and middle click and stuff.
100%. I mean, there's another layer of buttons beneath where it says player that we do not have to get into today if you don't have a mouse.
Yeah,
But there's a bunch of little buttons up there to change like what your mouse does. But man, it's
yeah,
much
yeah.
better with an actual mouse. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, cause I can like zoom, like scroll into zoom here on the trackpad, but like even that is like not as nice as I would like it to
Yeah.
be.
Do you see the button one over from your mouse on that? Yeah,
This guy
that
move
right
mode.
there. That'll allow you to move the.
Uh, uh, mm. But so that's moving the actual character around. So
Oh, that's moving
I
the
don't want to move.
character.
I don't want to do
That's not what you
that.
want. Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway.
You can look. These are your like toolbar basically for
Yeah.
modifying the scene. So you can do all kinds of stuff here. What is
So
it?
there's a couple things that you just changed. So you opened up this player scene,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you
Yep.
can see it's a bundle of like how many nodes? 6?
Yeah, handful of nodes, 6, 7
Plus,
nodes here.
yeah, a bunch of nodes, like, they're basic nodes, right? There's a sprite node to like, what does the guy look like in this
Mm-hmm.
case, the character. There's
Yeah.
collision shapes and it looks like he might have some sound effects in there. But like every time you click on one of those nodes, the thing that you're expanding
Mm-hmm.
changes because the inspector it's trying to show you on the right-hand side
Yeah.
all the different properties and cool things you
Exactly.
can do to that node. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the next thing I was gonna say is the inspector panel is gonna be your friend too, which I'll hide both of our faces here. How do I do that? H2, but there we go. This this
So
inspector panel is handy. It gives you, you know, the X Y positions of things, the rotation. You can actually rotate it in the inspector here, and it you
so
know
bu
it's rotating there.
yeah, so before changing anything, can you, run the game so we can
Yeah,
see the
good call.
guy? And then I wanna see if we can, like, mess with the guy. Yeah,
Yeah. So here's this game. I'm gonna maximize just so that show
perfect.
our
Yeah, it looks
faces
good.
again because why not?
Oh,
Just so you
nice.
can see. We
we're not
fit nicely on
getting
either
in the
side of
way.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like I planned it. I did
Okay.
not plan it.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a little game, right? And you've got a game, and there's some things falling in the background. There's a bad guy. Oh, and you hit the bad guy, and it's game over. Or you
Okay,
jump
so
on the bad
that's
guy, and you level complete, and he goes to a new level. So I could
nice.
sit here and just play this on stream all day, but what do we want to actually change? What do
Okay,
we
well,
want
let's just be goofy. Let's put it in let's make the guy massive. Let's change his scale
Yeah, that's fun.
or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to close out of here. And let's see. I'm going to try to zoom. Oh, yeah, I'm not used to this on a trackpad. So let's see. We can just say in the inspector over here, there is this literally the thing called scale. So we could make him like 8 times bigger, right? Oh, but that didn't change. Okay. So this is good. This is good to just as an intro.
Yeah.
So you'll see the
So
picture
the
is
collision
massive.
shape is the same. Yeah.
But yeah, these little
Yeah.
blue things are called the collision shape. So that's what actually tells Godot, like, here's where the outline of the character is, and this is what runs into stuff. This is how you jump on top of a bad guy or whatever. So this would not be good if we.
So what if we undid that?
Oh my gosh,
God.
he's in the middle there. So it's like
Massive even
the
there.
physics are broken because the collision shape is doing everything, and like I jumped on the guy somehow. I don't even know how that happened. So so we don't do that. So we're gonna Control Z.
What if we clicked on the top node? Can we change the player's scale?
Yeah, that's probably what we want to do. So we were selecting on just the sprite. The sprite is the actual image. But if we select the player is, they call it a scene tree. This is like it contains all the other stuff in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can go over here and see what we can do. So there's a transform and there's a scale. And so let's make him 8 times bigger.
And did his hitbox come with him?
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, the collision shape got bigger, so that's an overall scale of everything. Maybe we'll make it four times as big. There we go. And there's you'll start to learn a lot of these controls. Oh, my face is completely covering what I was just doing. That's helpful. Okay, so down here in the inspector, I was in the transform, and then I was changing the scale. And I was gonna say, you'll notice there's this little link button here. It's locking the aspect ratio. So that's if you want to scale it by the same amount. Like I just changed the 4 here. So it was 1.
And so
I
it
just changed the
changed,
4. It changes both
in both directions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like if you hold control when you scale something up or whatever, it keeps the aspect ratio.
So you could stretch the character.
If I unlink that and I say, well, actually, I want Y to be 1. I just want them really wide, and it's going to scale everything. It's going to scale. Why not? Let's do that, right?
Okay.
So now, oh no, it didn't do. Oh yeah, it did. So now we have this
God.
obnoxiously wide, but just as tall
pancake
guy, and it's kind of fun. It kind of made a different game. If I change the sprite out now, I'd have a different character.
Nice.
So
and
it
it's
works.
a lot easier to squash guys now. I think we've made this a more cozy genre, cozy gaming.
Yeah,
because it's like casual and relaxed. You just get to splat.
Just go wee splat. That is really easy. Splat. That's really satisfying. Oops. So yeah,
So we've made a change. Oh yeah, and another thing is every time you hit play, you've saved your version of the game. Your changes have not automatically, but they've saved the moment Cassidy hit play.
Yeah, they've saved to the actual files, but again, haven't been committed to Git yet.
So let's do it. How do we add our mod, which is ridiculous, and just pancake the guy?
So
choose a game.
So yeah, we're gonna go. I'm gonna minimize other stuff just because there's a lot going on screen. But we're gonna just go just in the terminal here in the Git bash.
Oh, and Cassidy, do you leave this up? Like as someone who does this a lot, because now that I've learned Git, I just nervously leave this up, and it's nice to have nearby in case I want to undo something or if I want to add it. Like we're gonna do now, we're gonna actually save what we just did. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely on my again, I'm using the wrong keyboard and mouse here, but I'm on my actual development computer, I have the terminal pinned in my dock on the bottom, and half the time if I'm working on a project, that window is just gonna be open in the background somewhere.
Okay, you do that too.
The one caveat I would say again is that I do recommend you save and quit in Godot before you do things in Git, just because Godot can get confused with files changing out from under it, because when you do things in Git, the files on the in the folder are actually going to be changing out from under your Godot project. So Godot can get confused. Godot can kind of lose track of the changes if you make changes in Git. So I'd say especially before you make a change in Git, pulling in new changes or reverting something or going back. It's just best to like save and quit Godot. Now you're back to you have your Git stuff going on here. Again, you'll learn as you do it more, you'll learn kind of what you can and can't do. Like doing a Git status or whatever, like is not bad. Even Git add and Git commit is not bad. It's not going to break Godot. But as soon as you do like a revert or
restore,
or
or
store
clean.
or clean or delete or like, yeah, as soon as you start changing any files or Git pull, even if you're pulling down and somebody else made changes, if you're working with somebody else, then Godot can get really confused because it'll be like, that file changed out from under me. I don't know what's going on. And like, it's best to save and close Godot.
All right. So without like going too far with it, like
Yeah.
let's just say, for argument's sake, that goofy mod you just made, I
So
I
I
wanna
want
I
it.
don't want to do git restore. I want to actually save that. And by the
Yeah.
way, if git is already in there, we cloned this game down,
Mm-hmm.
then we opened it in Godot.
Mm-hmm.
So again, though, just because you save things in Godot and in that folder on your computer, that doesn't automatically also
Doesn't
update your Git
doesn't push
repository.
it. Yeah, it's not like it synchronizes that automatically and pushes it anywhere. We have to commit what we
So
want to
let's
memory,
do it.
commit it to the repository. So if we type git status, and here's the interesting thing. So we didn't do a whole lot of changes. This is always one of those interesting, like maybe this is a slightly different version of Godot than the developer originally used. This is actually
Oh,
really good to see. So like it's like, oh, you modified all this stuff, and if we say
I was
like,
like, no, we didn't.
right,
Did we?
and so it's like, oh, it's because
No.
we're using it on Windows. Aha. So that's interesting. So this might be one of those weird things where like the Windows last week when we set up Git, there was an option to say, do you want like Windows style line endings or Unix style endings, or do you want it to convert? We chose that we wanted Windows, but to have it convert, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This person might have the Unix style line endings enabled. So that might be why that's giving me those warnings. I'm not sure. But yeah, either way, you'll notice like, okay, we didn't change all these things. We changed like one thing. We changed
Yeah,
the player
the player
scene,
scene.
right?
Yeah,
Um
yeah,
so
we definitely didn't import, and I see audio and icons. We didn't do any of that. We
yeah,
just changed the player scene. Yeah.
yeah, it's probably because we're in like a different folder. Or it's something weird about like, yeah, it's a little weird. So sometimes, and this is because the Godot engine itself is like doing stuff behind the scenes, right? It's saying, oh, hey, we've got this project folder. Actually, I'm going to see like what I'm going to do a command that's git diff, which is like show me the difference between what you know about and what is the current state. You can type git diff and it will show you the difference in everything. What I want to, you can also give it the name of like a path of a folder or file. So I want to say git diff. What did it change in? Whoops, my hands are not on the keyboard. What did it change in project.godot? Okay, so yeah, here's where it's saying the diff, the thing that changed is something with these line endings, the LF and CRLF.
Okay. Will that prevent us from doing what we want to do?
LF will be replaced by CRLF the next time Git touches it. I don't think it'll prevent us from doing what we want to do. I'm wondering if we should just fix it just so we don't get those errors, but I also don't remember how to fix it off the top of my head.
Well, let's just see if we can add our save then.
Yeah, okay. It's something like git config. I'm going to see if I can do it. Oh, yeah, there's lots of stuff here. Git config core. Let's maximize this so I can see more. Nope, you're not going to let me do that. Come on. Okay. Branch.
Oh dear God.
Auto CRLF. It's this one, I think. Core.auto CRLF. So if I say get core dot, oh my gosh, am I not typing? What's happening here? Git. Oh, that was weird. Okay, git config get core dot auto CRLF. So it's going to tell me it's set to true. So if I set it, again, you shouldn't probably have to worry about this, but if I set this to false,
I've never had to do this. Yeah.
if I set it to false, and then we open Godot and open this project and let it re-import stuff, it might be too late because it might have already done stuff. Let's see, get status. Let's check now. No, it still says it all changed. Okay. Let's get
Valiant effort.
git reset. Okay, well first let's commit the one thing we want to do, right?
Yeah.
So git add scene slash, and this is where it's helpful to know in the file tree in the file system where things are stored, or in Godot. Again, this is the same thing as like in the file tree on the left here that Justin's face is hiding, but there we go. This thing that the player that we were actually messing with was in scene player.tscn. So it's helpful to know where these files are, even if it's just
Wait,
helpful
I
to know
have a
where.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I mostly working on things like where we're at right now, we're talking about one person not really working with a team at all or a group,
Mm-hmm.
just adding and saving their changes to Git because our goal is to send it back to GitHub with our new
Mm-hmm.
squash guy, our pancake guy. We
Yeah.
want pancake guy on GitHub. So
Yeah.
I would just type git space add space period or dot because you told me that adds. I'm just like, I
That's
know
all
I'm
the
the only one
changes.
touching
Yeah,
this, but
sure.
if it's better practice to actually go in and find the files, is there an easy way? Like, can I copy the pathway to that and just paste it? Yeah, okay, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
So you can right
Yeah.
click and copy that?
And let me double check
Because
that
I
that
wouldn't
doesn't
want to
give
hand
me
type.
the resource path, because that would be annoying. Let's see. Oh, see, I'm used to the Linux way of Control Shift V, but so it does give me that resource slash, which is annoying.
You just don't need that.
I don't need it, but it's just scene slash player. And again,
Okay.
it's usually we're in this weird state. Right? We got ourselves in this weird state where, like, because this was last edited on like a Linux computer and we're on a Windows computer, it's set up in this weird whatever. Where like we have a lot more modifications than we normally would. I don't want to commit those just because that's messy, but
Yep.
so normally you could probably just get add dot and it would be fine, but I'm avoiding committing those just for the case of like I don't want to create more noise than I have to here.
You see, you're disciplined. I would I've probably accidentally done that, honestly,
Maybe,
not
yeah.
understanding what I was looking at there. I'm like, well, I know I didn't do that.
Well, I'm curious
So,
what if I do get add dot, does it like get status? Okay, it is smart. Okay, it is smart about it because it's doing the auto line feed thing or line ending thing. I think it's
does it
smarter
just
about
add
it.
our change?
It just only it only says, so I said get add dot, add all the
Oh
files,
yeah, modify the
and then
scene.
I said get
That's it.
status, and it said, oh, it only
Oh,
modified
cool,
that.
cool, cool, cool.
So I guess
All right,
Git is
great.
smarter about that. I was getting nervous because I don't, again, I usually am doing Linux projects on a Linux computer and other people are using Linux or whatever. So okay, if you see that error about the what did it say originally? Yeah, this whole like warning working tree directory crlf lf will be. I think you can probably ignore it. Super Linux nerdy people will probably tell me whether or not I'm wrong.
But
I feel like
but
that.
if
I feel
yeah.
like the having this set to true like we originally did is the right option because it should make Git kind of take care of it for you. So
Okay, but so back to the git add line.
yeah,
The
okay. So
git space add space dot.
we did get add dot.
Is that Cassidy, have I been doing something like when I make changes, I usually just make a few to
Mm-hmm.
one thing and then I want to save those. And this is
Mm-hmm.
all being saved locally. We haven't even pushed it to GitHub yet.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saved it, is it bad to just add like the dot being like all the changes that you made instead of specifically typing out or itemizing
Yeah. So
the
the
files?
reason that it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're just trying to like back some changes up and just like throw it up somewhere, then you can be a little messy or whatever. But like if you want these changes to ever be auditable by yourself, meaning just like you want to be able to go back and step through the history again, like we can type this
Yeah.
git log. Like it's nice that upgrade to Godot 4.2 is separate than changing the file type of the audio file, because like
Yep.
if we found out that this MP3 file was causing issues later on, it's easier to go back and find that this one commit changed that one file, or like it separates out the concerns a bit.
Okay.
And again, this is somebody's personal game that they open source. Said this might not have every example of the best practices in it. But it's a real world example, and that's fine.
Yeah. It's actually good. Yeah.
But yeah, it is best to be more specific if you can, just because it makes it easier to go back and like walk back changes later if you want.
Gotcha.
So again, I'm going to hit Q to get out of there. And then,
All right, so
so yeah, git status. Let's see where we are again. So we just have this modified file, and we can say, so now we have to commit it. Even though we've added it, we've told Git, hey, pay attention to these files. We still need to commit it, right?
so that's the part that's unnatural for me. It's like
Yeah.
hitting save is not just hitting save. Hitting
Yeah.
save now is add, then commit. Those together is save
now
locally,
you've saved it. Now you've saved it locally. You've saved it to the Git
So
repository.
git add, git commit.
So there's actually something interesting here. Before we commit, do we want to talk about branches now, or we can do that later? Let's do that later. We'll do that later.
I'd love to just push this to
Yeah.
GitHub and
Okay.
then later be like, yeah, and then yeah.
Okay. So if we git commit, now this is where you got into Vim in this. I'm in Nano. If you just type git commit and don't give it a message, right? So
I always give it a message, yeah.
So if you get into this, if you say git commit and you're confused, you can hit it depends on which editor you set up. This is where you hit like colon, what is it for Vim? Like colon Q or whatever?
Yes, or WQ or
something. WQ, yeah. So I don't even use Vim myself. In this case, I chose Nano when we set up Git originally, so I'm going to hit Control X, and that it tells me a little cheat sheet at the bottom here. The little hat thing is Control, so Control X will exit. So if you ever get into that, worst case, you could also just close the window and reopen Git Bash if you get really
That's
stuck.
what I did. That's exactly what I did.
I was like, honestly,
I started typing. I forgot to put a commit message. I started typing. Nothing weird things happened, and I just closed it and reopened it.
I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we can get commit, and then we're going to give it a message. So we can say -m, which is the same as -- message, right? And then I'm just going to do the -m because it's the shorter version.
-m, and then you just put it in quotes, right?
And then I put it in quotes, and I'm going to say make player a pancake.
Make pancake guy.
Yeah, and this is
a small change. We do not have to write for an hour. We don't need.
Yeah. And you actually don't want this to be super long, because like when you go back and look through the history of what's changed, like it'll truncate, it'll like chop off the end of your message if it's too long. It'll just like give you the beginning of it. So you want it to be short, sweet, to the point. A convention that a lot of people do that is good practice, again, kind of getting a little bit ahead, but just want to expose you to it, is putting the name of like the thing that you changed. Here I'd probably put player and then colon, and that's just to like, again, when you're looking through the commit history, especially if you're going to
easier visually,
you're just like player, make them a pancake, whatever, resize to pancake shape, or like whatever you want to say. But
that's just all for people to make it more readable for yourself, your own breadcrumbs as you look back through, or someone
it's not going to break if you don't do that. It really is just best practice for like you're actually going to be working with other people eventually, or like you said, just yourself is nice.
Totally.
Then every commit that you have might be like, scene this, game this, player this, and like you kind of get, it's easier to read that way, more consistent.
Nice.
So yeah, now we've committed, so it's local. So here at the top we have player, make player pancake, and it's committed by me, Cassidy, and it's here in the list of all the other ones, right? So like, the developer has all their changes they made, and then I've got my change I made right here alongside them.
Can you edit that to give me some credit? Because I feel like I was a part of that. No, I'm just kidding.
I could. Git commit. What is it? Amend. If you git commit amend, I don't remember.
Did you do
player make a pancake inspired by Justin. I don't know. Take that how you want. Inspired by Justin.
That's what I want my name on right there. So amend lets you change the
Yeah. So if you do dash amend, it lets you go back and change it. It's kind of fun.
Okay, so that's the 2-step shuffle there, where that's what we did is we saved it to Git, and now, unlike with just Godot, we have I believe a fairly simple command or two to just send that on to GitHub, right?
Yes. Now this is where you will need your like password for GitHub. Or if you've set up GitHub Desktop, I forget. It's been a while since I've set that up. It might do some of this automatically, but you'll need your password.
This no longer asks me. Yeah, after I did this a few times, it just knows. It doesn't ask me for my password. It just lets me push to my main.
Interesting. Yeah, I forget how that works exactly. Because I because I'm in professional software development, I do use the SSH stuff, which uses a key, it's a whole different thing. So
Okay,
yeah, I thought it
got
asked
it.
you for your password every time, but yeah, maybe once you've authenticated, maybe it doesn't. So yeah, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna switch scenes so I don't reveal my password, and then nope, that's the wrong one. So okay, Justin, can you talk for a minute about what we've done so far? A little review, real quick, while I get my
So
password.
so we went and got the game from GitHub, but we did it differently. We didn't just download the files. We forked the game from a repo, making our own copy but keeping it online. Then we cloned it. You can interrupt me if I get any of this wrong. Then we cloned it, which means we brought that game, the copy of that game that we now have on GitHub, we brought it to our computer, down to our computer, keeping the two things linked.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're both tied to each other because what we know we wanted to do was make a change in the game, turn the guy into a pancake, and then save that not just on our computer, but save it with Git, which is in one button. It's Git add, Git commit. Save it with Git, and then once it's saved in Git, we want to send it back to that pipeline back to GitHub because we know we kept
Yep.
them connected, right?
Yep.
All right, so
Exactly.
let's do
Yeah,
it.
I think that's good.
How do we send it
So
up?
let's go back to my HDMI input here. Let's put us both up here.
So we're on that second bullet.
Okay. So we are going to. All we have to do here is we want to push it back since we are in a repository and we pulled it. It has the history. We forked the project, so we have permission to push. So we type git push, and this is where it should
So easy.
ask me for interesting.
Yeah, see, this is what I did. I did this
new.
one time. I
I've
did this
never
one time,
seen
Cassidy,
this.
and I never had to do it again.
So this is doing some stuff behind the scenes. That's cool. Okay, so it does have like a little bit
I
of a
didn't.
GUI built in. That's fascinating.
Is this
Okay.
safe or is this okay?
Yeah. This
Okay, I
this
didn't
makes sense.
question
This is
it, yeah.
safer than typing your password every time, right? Like, because just like me, of like I shouldn't have to go type my password on stream and whatever. So yeah, we can just say sign in with your
Cool.
browser. Neat. That's new since the last time I used Git on Windows, which admittedly was a very long time ago. So yeah, when you do
so
it,
I did
it
this.
opens your browser and it says, do you want to authorize this thing that's running on your computer to have access to all your stuff? Yeah, it's the thing that you're running on your computer, and you want it to. Then you sign in, you give it your password, you confirm, and it says great. And you can close the tab, and now you can go back to where you were. And so yeah, you'll see here back here in this message it said, please complete authentication in your browser, and then it actually
did
pushes
it.
Yep. That's neat.
Oh, we missed the moment. But anyway, yeah, it's like a few lines of messages. But yeah, let's go to GitHub now.
It spits us out. And if we come back here, if we just hit refresh on this repository, we should see make a pancake inspired by Justin.
So
and it's associated with me because we're logged in and everything. Yeah.
But inspired by me. So I got my credit.
Got your credit.
So I'm famous. Yep. So we pushed our change up. So this is all like working on your own. But now, like something goes wrong on the computer, and you lose your work there, or a more positive thing, you just want to share this with someone.
I'll be a mad lad, right? Like, I'm a mad lad. Delete.
Oh my God.
Delete my whole folder. Try again. It's open somewhere. I don't care. Delete it. It's open here. Yeah, it's fine. Just delete it. Delete all my work. Delete. Empty the recycle bin. That's fine. I don't even know where the recycle bin is on Windows anymore. Anyway, it's gone. It's gone forever.
You just nuked the game. You just got rid of the game.
I nuked my whole game. All my changes, even if I worked forever. Oh, I come here. It's missing. Oh, no. What happened? Whatever. Right? Or I'm on a new computer. My computer blew up and I'm on a whole new computer now. So this is where you would just go back in and you can just clone that project again. Since we pushed it, it's safe. So it's pushed up here.
Right, because it's all sitting up there. Yep.
Yeah. So we can just git clone.
Do this. Nice. Do the same process.
And now it'll pull it down.
And it's got our change.
It'll have our change. Yeah. So if I say git log, oops. See, I have to CD into that project. This is CD into the candy wrapper folder because that's what it pulled it down into. Now it knows that we're on master here, and we can say git log, and we have make player pancake. We open up Godot Engine, and it still should be imported here, and it should know the files are there. Oops, candy wrapper's there, so it's all here. So yeah, that's the mad lad delete the project or whatever, but it's all backed up on Git. It's fine. So
Okay.
There's our game, and there's our pancake.
There's our
It's so
pancake.
good.
So, last bullet.
Yeah.
Before we do it, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, the last time we did this, the quick kind of nice thing about Git when you go through all that work of installing it is now if you keep using Git and initializing it with alongside a game you're making, or you clone a game like we've done today twice because you destroyed the game and then brought it back.
Mm-hmm.
But like once you've connected local Git to your game, we use the Git restore thing or Git clean. We use these. You can use these commands to sort of undo changes,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes like the thing I wanted to explore last was with branches. Now we come to this branches thing, and there are many like good things about the fact that you can make branches of a project. And when we say
Yeah.
branches, we essentially, tell me if this is oversimplifying it,
Mhm.
but you're basically making versions of the game, different versions of the game as copies that you
Mhm.
could work on to add a feature or a component or to just be silly and make a silly mod. And it doesn't affect the main game. In this case, the branch
Right.
was called master. It doesn't affect
Yeah.
that branch, that version. It's a separate version that you could take your separate version and bring it into the main branch, or you could never do that and just leave it as a separate idea or feature,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I think this is hopefully not too confusing, but it's in a similar way that we forked the original project, right? And we have
It
our
is
own
like that,
we have our
isn't
own
it?
space
Yeah.
within your project, or within a project. You can create a branch, which is it's very similar to the idea of a fork. It's you're branching off of the original project or the original branch, and you are creating your own place to play. You can
So
eventually,
this
like
is
you said,
why.
you can eventually merge that stuff back in if that's the intent, or it can just be you can have just a playground to just mess with stuff, and it's split off at the time that you created that branch. It's split from that forever, unless you merge it back in. So like if you branch off and make changes, and then the original branch gets some changes, whether from you or somebody else, you've diverged, right? So like you won't automatically get all that stuff for free. There is work that you have to do to pull stuff back in either direction.
Right.
But yeah, you've split off, you've diverged from that original code base.
So I think that's one way. If we're still talking about working on your own and just exploring Godot and making changes,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do the last bullet that we talked about today, where we're talking about branches.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to do it in a way where the reason that we're creating a different version is because we want that playground, like you said, that a copy that is just going to be something that is never really intended to mess with the main game and break it. It's
Mm-hmm.
You want to explore and experiment and make the guy a pancake without
Yeah.
it actually becoming part of the game. You just need a space for that. How do we do that?
All right. Yeah, let's cover that. I gotta find my right scene here again. I have too many scenes. We made all these scenes ahead of time, and there we go. All right. So I'm gonna come back here I'm gonna go ahead and close Godot because I'm not in there right now. I'm also gonna just minimize the browser and everything else here. So we are in the master branch, right? That's the
like the main game,
that's
the main version.
Yeah, the default branch. So let's say, I mean, we could. No, I don't do that. I say we could go through a whole bunch of confusing stuff to revert what we've done and then do it in a different branch. But let's do something else in a different branch. So
And what would you name them? Okay, let's just make a new branch.
yeah,
And talk to me about what you're going to name it, and like so that you know. And
yeah. So I do this old way of Git. Now I can't even think. Git branch.
You're not going to do Git switch?
What is it? Git branch. See, now my brain is broken because I do this like a million times during the day for real, and I'm like, now I don't remember what it is. Okay, let's do Git switch. Just because I remember what that is, because we were talking about it. Git switch C. So we're saying we want to switch where we are, but we're going to create a branch, and we can give it a new name.
C stands for create, which I forgot. I didn't realize, and you told me last time. Yep. Okay.
Git switch, and then because you can switch between.
So now
branches,
what you type next,
yeah,
which doesn't need quotes, is going to be the name of
Yeah.
your like messy version. Yeah.
Exactly. Just like we have master here, we're giving it a name. It should typically the convention is, all lowercase, one word, maybe some dashes or something. Again, this is where like if you're working with a bigger open source project, they might have all their own conventions for what they name branches and stuff. And they might have stronger opinions. The typical that you see is usually like one or two words, a few words. If you have more than one word, you separate them with like a dash, like a word. Again, not the most important thing if you're just working with yourself. So let's call this. What do we want to change in the game specifically? I don't know.
What do we want to change?
Yeah, like what are we actually gonna play? Or just let's call this playground. I mean,
because like what if we didn't even know? We didn't have a purpose yet. Like sometimes I get it. You're going to switch to a branch to make a new level or to add audio.
Yeah, you might
but
say
like, what if
level
we just want a
7
playground?
would be the branch. But yeah, in this case, like literally we just call it playground. That's fine.
Cool.
So now it shows that we're in this branch called playground. And if we say get branch without any commands, it'll tell us the branches that we have available are master and playground is selected. And so this is where we can get switch back and forth between switch helps me spell it right. Back to master. Yeah, it's doing this weird thing where it's showing the imports, but I think we can mostly ignore that because that's the weird Windows Linux thing.
Yep.
And get
so you can jump back and forth between the branches with a single get switch and then the name of the branch.
Yeah, and it's actually changing all the files out under the hood. This is why when you do stuff like switching branches, you want to make sure Godot Engine is closed, so you're not just like ripping out all the files under it and changing with.
I know it doesn't feel like you're doing anything because you're just typing here, but yeah, it's like
all
actively
the files are
changing the entire. Yeah.
So all right, we're in our playground. So we have a playground branch. What do we want to play with?
All right, so now let's just break it. I don't know, just maybe open one of the levels and the tile map on one of the levels or something. Oh, I'm in the way again.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Here, that's why I've made this scene while you were talking earlier. I made this scene so that I can move you over there and haha, now it's your face. All right, let's just do the. That's interesting. It's 0.
It's the opening level, the easy
the
level.
Opening level, easy level. Let's make it
impossible. Click on tile map and draw a wall or something.
All right, now you gotta help me with this. Where do I actually do? Oh, tile map. So I gotta select the actual tile map here. And yeah, this is specific to this game, right? Like this is gonna be different depending on different games how they're set up exactly.
And then in the bottom middle on the panel there, the tiles you have to zoom way in.
Oh right, because it's all it's real pixel art. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
So there you go. So we can click any of those or any combo of those.
I guess they're just for different looks, right? Oh,
I think they're just different, slightly different designs.
Interesting. Maybe like spoiler alert for the different levels, right? I'm zooming in, just seeing if it looks like they're all using the same
spoiler alert.
Same tile set here. Okay, well I'll go back to the 0. Level 0, the first level, and I'll just grab. It looks like this is the one that's used everywhere. If I just make, this is funny because I'll make it seem impossible, but then we'll show why it's not. All right,
nice.
So it's impossible. So you're like, I can't. Oh wait.
I guess that's the first level.
Wait. Is that not? Is that not the first level?
There we go. Now I think it'll show you.
No, this is a different level. This is not what's being shown.
Oh,
I'm confused.
Wait, we didn't even get that level.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused.
Okay, can you X out of this?
Yeah.
Can you click on level 1?
Level 1 looks right. Maybe level 0 is just not used, or it's used for something else.
Oh, and then level 2 is
Yeah. Wait.
There it is. Let's do it to that one.
Okay. So let's do level 2. Yeah, I thought I was editing. I don't know. Level 0 must not be.
Did we just find a hidden level?
Yeah, I think we did on accident, maybe.
Okay.
All right. So opening up the tile set here. Yeah, I have the tile map selected, and then I can do whatever. I think it might be grabbing random tiles because I feel like it was different looking. But anyway, that's fine. I'll grab this and I'll just make it. It's impossible.
Air quotes impossible.
Yeah. Now, boom! I built the wall.
Never defeat it. Okay, so squash the first guy. I thought you got hit. Okay.
I almost did. Oh no, impossible. I can't play it, but that's the mechanic. Oh, and then I still got killed.
Oh. Okay.
I think the pancake guy is messing with me. So yeah, we modified a level though, right? Like,
yep.
So that would maybe we would want to put that level in and make that force us something to learn.
we never intended to use that for anything other than just us playing
just
around.
demonstrating, yeah. But we wanted to push it so that we
But
could show
yeah,
people again some other time, right? So I'm gonna pull my
that
back
could
out
be the
here.
thing too. Is like either you're just playing around in your playground branch, or your branch is just like to showcase some very specific thing, and so you
Yeah,
really don't want it a part of anything,
I
the
mean,
main thing.
a good example of this is for our actual thing for work for GodotCon. We had a branch called GodotCon. So for context, the Endless team went to GodotCon, a convention, international convention for Godot people, Godot Engine like game developers and stuff, and we presented a game that we'd been working on. Right, we presented a tool and we built a game with that tool, and we made some changes. Like we wanted to set up the project to like paper over. It's kind of the cooking show thing where you're like okay, well
Things are half ready.
we've pre-set up some, or actually we created a Godot branch or GodotCon branch as our like playground. You know, we separated out to GodotCon, and we actually ended up deleting a bunch of stuff because what we were doing is we were live demoing building the game from the stage. So we knew we didn't want to delete all that code for real life. Like we wanted to keep that code there so the game was functional in the main branch. But for the demo for GodotCon, we wanted to delete that code so we could type it out live. So that's a great example of like, we never intended to merge it in, but we did want to be able to get back to it and have a history, have its own history of like what was changed in that branch. And other people could pull it up. Yeah.
Wait a minute. So when you said you were talking about this separate branch, and then you said merge. So I'm just gonna like yeah. Can you? What does that mean exactly? I think I know what it means based on that, but like I'm just asking to ask here just to clarify terms. Yeah.
So it's just like you know, maybe this change we wanted to, if this was a change we actually were like, hey, we want this to go forward as part of the like game going forward for everyone else to see. We could do what's called a merge. You can do it two ways. You can do a merge completely in Git, just on the terminal. Like if it's your own project that you're doing your own stuff with, whatever, you can just merge it that way. But this is where you get into what's called a pull request, typically. So
okay, we can do that later.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go down that rabbit
hole. No, it's okay. Well,
it's a good one. It's a really good one, and we should probably cover that next. But
yeah, I mean, let's show. I think we can show what that would look like
what it looks like. Okay.
Yeah. So we have this playground. First, I'm gonna get status.
I was just worried I opened up a whole new
it does this all
stream on you there
because it's the first time I did stuff in this branch. But then if I git add again, you can mostly ignore this. So here's an example of like, well, maybe I didn't actually want to change those other two things. Maybe I actually wanted to change the scene that we really cared about. But it's fine. We will leave it for now.
Okay. So we're on our own branch, our safe like side branch called Playground, and we know that because I can see it right there.
Yeah, it's showing us the playground here. And if you say get status, it says on branch playground here.
That's something I always nervously do. Like I'm like, wait, did I actually switch off the main? I do not want to be on the main.
Exactly.
Thing. Let me get.
It's like even though you know you could always undo those changes or whatever, like you don't want to accidentally mess something up, especially if other people are working with you. And
do you know what I've been doing? I've actually been starting my work on a side. I don't even.
Yeah, no, that's
because then I have to go in and I have to actively switch to the main, which I'm aware of. If I start on the main, I might forget that I was there and like start messing with the main game, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. That's good to be like, yep, switch over. I'm gonna be in my safe like separate branch, and then I'm gonna do my work, and then I'm gonna propose or whatever.
Yeah. Playground, sandbox. I like the naming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're in the playground here, whatever. But we can commit in here. We can say made level. Wow, I can't type. Here's where I guess we could say 2.dscn or just like level 2. Again, this all depends on like conventions and stuff, but like level 2, that's pretty clear, right? Level 2.
But it's make just readability, right?
Make
it makes sense.
Harder. I don't know.
Cool.
And then we can get push, right? Because we are in.
And wait a minute.
Yeah.
I thought we didn't want to push it to the main.
Right. Since we're on the playground branch, when we push, it'll go to the playground branch on GitHub as well. So.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is there a way to type git push and even in your command, in your typing of it, make sure it goes to the one you want it to?
I think so. I think if you can give it the branch. I think you have to type origin, which is weird. So what I did there is
Yeah.
I just hit tab a couple times to see like my options of what I can type. So first it just autofilled origin. So origin is the name of, that's the remote. We're not going to get super into that, but that origin basically means where it came from, which in this case is my GitHub
which
repo.
was GitHub, yeah.
My GitHub repo specifically too, because you could add a different GitHub repo as a different remote, and that's how you can do all kinds of fun stuff. But Git remote.
This is linked to your GitHub repo, which is they're calling it the origin. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's the origin for as far as this is concerned. And then I hit tab again, and it gives me actually all the names of the branches. So you can say git push origin, and then you could say playground, and that'll like make sure it's only gonna go to the playground branch.
So you don't need to do that. I've been nervously doing that a lot. I type out the word playground, origin playground. So not the main, not the master, whatever. Playground. Yeah.
No, if when you do git status, or in this case, when you have when your little git bash thing shows you that you're on this branch, when you push, it's going to be pushing to the same name of a branch.
It assumes that's where you want it. That's where you're sending. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So actually,
that's much easier then.
Since we created the playground branch here and I just hit git push, it might actually complain. Let's see. It should complain. Yes. Okay. So it did complain. It's like, hey, so you're on this branch called playground on your computer, but like, it has no upstream branch. Upstream. That's
right. Because we never made.
We never
actually branch on GitHub.
Right. So it's like, here's what you can do. It gives you the command. It says, here's what you can do. Git push set upstream origin.
Okay. So we just copy that.
So you can just copy that or type it. Yeah. Git push. And there are shortcuts for this, like git push -u is the same as set upstream. It doesn't really matter which one you do. Origin playground. And again, I'm tab completing there. When I type, I can hit tab and it will tab complete what it thinks I probably want.
You didn't need to memorize that. It told you what to type.
Right, and it did. And that's only the first time. So now if I push that, it's going to say, okay, push it, and push it at a place called playground on the upstream.
And now it understands that that's, okay.
Now it's associated. So now if we went and made another change, if we, I don't know, let's make level 2, I don't know, level 3 harder, right?
Okay.
I don't know. How do we do this? Tile map.
How do we make it harder?
Oh yeah, I have to zoom in here. That's what I have to do.
You know how the guy like falls from the top?
Mm-hmm.
Make a diagonal line that splits these two things so that you actually have to curve the guy as he's falling. You'd have to curve him under. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's the first thing I thought of, but like.
Why do I? Let's see. Okay, select the tile.
Oh, you have to click on tile map. Yep.
There
you go.
So if I'm like.
So like if it's like.
Whatever, just ridiculous.
Okay, well that's never gonna happen. Oh no.
Oh, it will though. It feels impossible, right? But it's not.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Because
you can go to the left.
Exactly. Right? So just like you can do that. Just like you can do this. Right. Okay. Whatever. It's a dumb change, but it demonstrates the thing, right? So we're gonna make sure we're saved. We're gonna close, and then we're gonna say, okay, get status here. You can see it. We just changed the 3. So then we're gonna say git commit message level 3 make harder 2.
Wait, don't you have to do git add first?
Good call. I said git commit and did it, and it goes, okay, well, we didn't do anything here. You still have an untracked change here. So yeah, git add dot, or we could type that path directly. And then again, a lot of this stuff is like muscle memory. I'm gonna hit the up arrow because I can go back. I don't have to retype that. I can just hit the up arrow to go back to what I already typed, and then hit enter. Kind of cool. So you can be like, oh, it didn't work. So you can go up and then hit it, and then it'll.
I have not been using those. I've been hand typing the messages each time.
You're gonna fall in love with the muscle memory. Okay, and so now again, get status here.
Okay, but this time we should just be able to say git push, right?
Yeah, now we can git push. And we don't have to say, hey, set the upstream, because we set that upstream once.
It already knows.
It knows, hey, the branch called playground is associated with the branch called playground on GitHub. And now, if we go to GitHub, we even see, it's handy. It knows that there's changes there that were made. So we have, I can switch back to me, I guess. We have this playground has had recent pushes. If this wasn't showing or whatever, if it wasn't recent, you can also switch. This is your branches here.
I've actually... Oh, okay.
Weird that it wasn't showing all of them, but yeah.
I've used that top notification is nice to me because when I wasn't really understanding this at first, I would literally look at the time and I was like 4 seconds ago. Okay, yeah, that was me.
That is me. That's me doing it. Yeah, exactly.
So without touching anything else, that was what we wanted to go over today, is just like how to back your stuff up.
Mhm.
And also, I would like to make the point, and tell me if I'm wrong, that there really is no, let's say you're just working on your own, like, and maybe you don't always have to push a branch anywhere. Like I have a playground branch that I never push to
It's
GitHub.
just local.
I
Yeah.
just leave it local, and
Mhm.
I do many of them because I think Will told me, he's like, branches are cheap and easy,
Yep. Yeah.
and there's no reason you shouldn't be afraid to just create more if you need to experiment with things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, branches are cheap. That's good advice. Of like you can
But
always just branch off and try something. That way you don't mess up your main thing, and you don't have to push it anywhere. And of course, the caveat there
right.
is like, if your computer blows up or whatever, then you don't have that anything that wasn't committed and pushed. But
But
you
you
still
know what
have
I
it.
messed up though,
Hmm.
before you do anything, is right here looking at this playground branch on the command line here,
Mhm.
is in short order. I made the mistake. I was going really fast, and I right here on this line, I typed git switch and made a new branch. And then I got confused
Ah, yes. So let's
because
say, yeah, we
I
wanted to go
didn't
back.
remember, when you make a new branch, it
Yes.
copies the one you're on. So I copied my playground into a new playground. I'm like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a fresh copy of the main
Right.
branch.
Yeah.
So I had to switch back. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, if I just made a playground 2, I still have, and we can look at this with the log, git log, I still have level 2 make it harder, level 3 make it harder too.
Yeah.
Now, if what
There's
I
the new
actually want to
stuff.
do
Yeah.
was git switch back to our master branch, in this case it's master again, a lot of times we'll do main or default or
Oh yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah. Right.
But if we switch back to master and then do git log, you can see that we don't have those changes that we made. We still have player make player pancake, but we don't have those changes we made in the playground. Then we could do git switch
Yeah.
C,
Yep.
playground 3, whatever.
So I made that mistake once, and then from then on, every time I want a new branch, if it's supposed to be a fresh
Yep.
copy, like default copy of the main one, I switch to main,
Yeah.
make a new branch, name it, and then go. Yeah.
And I'll also show you the equivalent, because sometimes people, if your brain works this way better, that's fine too. Like you can make a branch here on GitHub first. So if we said,
Oh right.
this is bad. This is bad convention. Don't just name your branch like a word.
Oh,
and
I'm
then a
in the
number.
way again.
Oh yeah. Thanks for looking
I
out.
actually started moving.
No,
I did
you
it again. I
did. You
started
did.
moving like
If
this.
you had a
I'm
green
like,
screen,
let me
we
get out
need
of
to
the
get
way.
you a green screen, and then you could actually
Okay.
duck out of the way or whatever. But okay, you'll see here if you. So I went to just this drop down with the branches here, and I can
Yeah,
say
you can make one here.
you can type in, you can find or create a branch. So if I say playground 4, again, it's not great convention to just name it something and then a number, but or whatever. It's doing for demonstration. You can say create branch,
Yep.
and it'll say from master. So this is actually
Oh.
it's the same thing as switching to master and then creating a new branch. Now, if you were on our playground branch, and then you went in here and said you wanted to make a playground 4 branch, it'll make it from playground.
From playground.
So it's the
Got it.
same.
There's
It's the
the
same
same
kind of
difference.
thing as like from the terminal or the command line, but it's whatever branch you're selected on here, and then you go to make a new branch. It'll branch off of that. So yeah, it's best to. And that's messed me up before. Generally, best to make sure you're branching off of like the main, the master, the default branch, whatever that is, and then unless what you're doing is you want to build off of work that you did in a different branch. But if what you want is a fresh copy, you want to make sure you're saying creating that branch from master, whether that's there or whether that's git switch master, and then
So the
and
git
then create a
switch is git switch is great. Like all these commands is just single line commands. They are strange words at first, but they're not. I actually find it really nice to just jump back and forth and just know. Like I kind of start my work actually here now, and I open up the command line. I open up git bash and I go, am I on my? I call it local tester. Boring.
Mhm.
I should call it playground or sandbox,
That's
but I
fine.
call it local tester, and I never push it actually to GitHub. It's just a local branch. This is really weird, right? Like you have Git on your machine, and you have a Git master branch there or main branch
Mhm.
there, and you can make branches off of it in different versions. That all of that can be brought online, but they're not necessarily the same thing. You'd have to. I'm watching you right now decide to take a local branch and then also make it a branch up on GitHub.
Mhm.
That's interesting. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Branch, like I like that. Will is smart. The branches are cheap. You can always make new branches. You can always use them just to play with an idea locally, to test things. They don't have to be destined to be pushed or shared or anything. They can just be.
And
playing around locally.
I also have to say, Cassidy, as someone for whom all of this is really still kind of fresh and new,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to, if I'm already like trying to figure out Godot or scripting or anything about game design or game development, and then there's this,
Mm-hmm.
to know that I'm safely on my side local branch,
Yeah.
or even if it's on GitHub, I'm on my side branch,
Right.
and I'm
Yeah.
working there. It just is one less thing I have to like stress about messing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know that no matter what I do to break the game, I'm like, oh my God, thank God I'm not on the main project. I can always switch back to the main project and like not deal with that. Like maybe should I be deleting them? I haven't deleted some of the side branches I make. I just leave them out there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's
I
not
don't
really a
know.
big deal. Like they can say that you can eventually delete them if you're like, I know I'm never ever gonna want this ever again. You can delete it, and then all that history
Then,
that
yeah.
was on that branch and not merged in anywhere else will be gone.
Okay.
But yeah, they're cheap.
So can you give a final, like, I have to get going, and maybe we could do like a
sure.
sign off where you wanted to do like a final kind of teaser
Sure, yeah.
that talks about branches and pull requests just for our next session.
Yeah. So since this is a big green button right here, I'm just gonna click it and we can see what this looked like. So remembering when, okay, in the master branch, I can do this visually too. So we're in the master branch here. So git log. I'm just showing you the history of what we've done so far. We've, the previous developer had done stuff, and then the things that we've done, we pushed the pancake guy to master, and then we switched to a playground. Oops, git switch playground. Then then in this branch, so we still have that pancake guy because that was we branched off from there. Then we made level 2 harder, and we made level 3 harder.
Oh, you type git log, it's related to the branch you're on. It's a log of only that branch.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
It's super handy because it will tell you which branch stuff happened in.
Yep.
Like it's kind of confusing. It has these arrows and it says head and all this stuff, but like it'll tell you the name of the branches. Cool. This change was made in master, and then these changes were in the playground branch. So we're gonna quit out of there. We're hitting Q, and then so playground has changes that master doesn't. So if we go to compare and pull request, click this. You can also do that from other places. Like if you go to the pull requests tab, I think it shows you the same thing. And then if it doesn't show it to you, you can hit new pull request and then manually select it from these drop downs here. But I'm just going to go back and hit the create pull request because that's handy.
So the one that it like kind of advertised to us, like, hey,
the
you
top,
want to...
Yeah. It's like, hey, if you're coming to the repository page after having pushed a branch, you may want to merge it or do a pull request. So a pull request is... in just super high level is like, it's a pull request. You're requesting that your changes are pulled into the other branch. So you can do a pull request between different branches. I'm going to actually be very careful here because this showing, since we actually forked this from a real developer's thing, I don't want to like inundate them with stuff that's not relevant to them. And so I'm hiding you, Justin, just so people can see this.
Yeah, please show this. Let's slow that down. I wouldn't want to do a pull request to there.
So this base repository, that's where, and it has this little arrow pointing in the left. It's saying like you're gonna take these changes and you're gonna push them this way. You're gonna ask the person you're requesting them to pull them in, right? We don't want to do that. We don't want to accidentally.
That would send the developer our playground branch.
Yeah, it would say, hey, we made this thing, and whatever I type in here, it'd be like, hey, please merge this into your game. I made an improvement to your game, and they'd probably be like, that's really annoying that you did that because I don't want to do that.
Right.
Now if I fixed a bug, if there was actually a bug I found and I fixed it and then I wanted to send that, this is how you would do it, right? But for now, we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves. For now, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to make sure I select the
Cassidy
fork.
one. Yeah. Okay.
And then you'll say it even simplifies it here. It says, okay, all right, you're staying within your repository here, base master, compare playground. Yep. And it will show, before I even click anything, it will show a preview. And it gives me the list of the commits that we made. And then it gives me the changes. Now, these changes aren't super helpful to read line by line because it was like, it's a bunch of just numbers. But it does give you a preview of if you did change any code, if you're actually writing code, it'll show it here. I don't know why it did some of the changes it did. That's interesting. Maybe I accidentally deleted something. But yeah, every change that was made, it'll show in text form here, and then it'll also give me the commit, like the history. And then if I just say, just playing, whatever, doesn't matter. And I create a pull request here. first of all, if you're creating a pull request, but it's not something that's like ready to be merged, you just wanted to get it up there and like more visible, you can do what's called a draft pull request. So that doesn't let somebody just click merge. It lets them know that like this is a draft. I'm putting it here. Maybe I want some comments on it. Maybe I want you to see what I'm working on, but it's not
So
ready.
is that more like, yeah, is that more like a conversation starter between you
Yeah.
and whoever else is working? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say it's like a conversation starter, or it's like you want your changes to have more visibility, because you could just have them in a branch and they are out there and anybody can go look at them.
But that's like kind of
know.
sneaking them in, and
Right.
no one's like knows that they're, yeah.
Whereas here you're like, hey, I'm working on this thing. I know
Yep.
it's not ready yet, but maybe I want somebody else. I'm putting it out here so somebody else can look at it.
Cool.
So I'm going to do that here because we know we don't actually want to merge this, and we're going to say draft pull request, and then it even gives you a nice.
I have not used the draft. I like that.
Yeah, it's super nice. But then this is what's called a pull request, and again, we're doing it just against my own project. So there's reasons you might want to do this even if you're doing your own project. We'll get into those more some other time maybe, but it is nice. It gives you a place. It shows up on this pull requests tab as here's the open pull requests. So these are all the requests that if anybody else came along and wanted to make changes and merge them in. I'll actually show real quick just as a real world example of like, so if we go to this project that we've forked, there are two. This is the original game, the real game, and there are two pull requests against this game. Manuel did that's right. Manuel, one of our colleagues, actually has a pull request against this real game, and you can go see he made some code changes. He's actually saying, hey, this makes it more flexible, for changing out levels. And so this is he's legitimately saying that I've done this work. I'm requesting that you pull it into your project because it makes the project better. And then the developer can review this, and actually you can have a whole conversation on it and chat and stuff. But yeah,
I have to say something here too. Like, the last thing is, like, when I saw like that there's two different commands just to save something on your machine, then when you put stuff in GitHub, great. But then there's like this polite kind of requesting of someone else to look at it before we even get to the button that says merge, which actually goes ahead and tries to bring it together. I think that the only time, like, that seemed like a lot of unnecessary work until I actually started trying to mess with the game and code and things. Like, I'm used to sharing Google Docs with natural language on them. Very simple, very, very simple document. Very simple, clear and easy to understand what's been added and what's not. I mean, things that you change here could literally be game breaking and make it very difficult for people to kind of figure out and untangle. So the second I saw like how that process actually worked, it immediately made sense to me, and I wanted to slow down. I really wanted it to be like this.
Yeah, and this is where things like commit messages and stuff, when you're just doing it for yourself, it's not as important, right? We're saying, you can just add everything. Right. But like now, if you're getting to a point where you're asking somebody else to spend their time to look at something, you want to present it in the best way. And so that's where Manuel's really. I haven't even looked at these ahead of time, but I know they're going to be great because he's a great developer. He's even given a lot more context when he does his commit message. It's not just like use last level wherever possible or add first level. He's like, okay, this allows you to do this, Here's even a sample. Like he's giving, this context about why you would want to do this.
Cool.
And so like he's going out of his way because he knows that like he's asking this developer to take time out of their day to review his code that he's written, and he's asking them. He's saying like, hey, I think my code is good enough to be merged into your game. So he's doing his absolute best to like make it really clear and easy for the developer to review it, see what has changed, and understand the reasoning too, not just what changed, but why it changed.
And I think it's important to remember too that the same tool, Git and GitHub, let us make a playground branch where we don't have to wait at all. We could smash, wreck things, do whatever we want. It doesn't mean you always have to be that methodical. So it's just if you're trying to ultimately bring it into the main game, then you want to slow down. Sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's a good place to leave off there and kind of tease this. We can actually show maybe a real pull request next time or something, but I think we covered our our
I think
three
we nailed
objectives,
our
right?
3 bullets. Yeah.
We wanted to get a game from GitHub. We saved those changes, and then we also showed a bit about branches, and it only took us an hour and a half to do that. So, hey, it's shorter than last time. If we keep this
Yeah.
up, we'll get these nice and short and tight by the time we're well on our way. So,
That's what the timestamps are for.
yeah, exactly. So, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks Justin for joining again.
Thanks,
Hopefully we
Cassidy.
keep this up. I don't know. I mean we've set this precedent, right? We have 2 weeks in a row where we have done it at the same time, but next week is probably like holiday season and stuff, so I don't know when the next time we'll do. So we're not committing to a specific time, but there will be more of these, I think, out there eventually. So stay tuned for that.
Thanks, Cassidy.
Yeah, thanks for joining, and see you all later.
See ya.